Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. And before we even get started, I did not plan on recording this video, nor was I planning on making this a reoccurring thing. Mainly because of the fact that there's so much content on my channel already that I wouldn't know if I'd really have the time to add another show to my channel. But don't get used to this. This is not going to be a reoccurring thing. When I have time, I'll do it. Because like I said, I am a very busy guy and I have so much content on my channel already. But welcome to the very first ever Rewind. This is my pay-per-view review and results show. Welcome to the very first ever Rewind for Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Now, I went back and I watched some of the matches because when I was at the Tilted Kilt Pub and Eatery, I was meeting new people and talking business with Tommy McGrogan. Shout out to him. I missed a lot of things that went on in multiple matches. But I went back and I watched some of the matches, and before I start reviewing the matches, I just want to let you guys know that WWE only continues to prove me right when I say that their product is lazy and uncreative, and they put absolutely no effort into what they do. They booked themselves into a corner with more matches than one, and I'm going to explain that. In hindsight, they screwed up from the get-go because of the match order. If they were going to pull all those shenanigans in the main event that they did, then that match should have opened the show. They shouldn't have pulled those shenanigans to begin with, but if they were and they had to, they absolutely had to, because they had to place their stamp on it, then it should have opened the show. That was not a good way to close the show. I'll explain why. First off, the pre-show started off with Andrade Cien Almas versus Sin Cara. This was actually one of the better matches of Extreme Rules. This is actually probably the third best match on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view as a whole. Great way to start off the show. I like that they're taking the Extreme Rules pay-per-view pre-show seriously. They had a great match just like they did on SmackDown Live. It was very good for what it was, very fast-paced, very innovative. Again, I state, Sin Cara is very underrated. I don't know why they don't put him in some more prime spots. Sin Cara can work. Andrade Cien Almas, we all know how good Andrade Cien Almas is. He is one of the best that the company has to offer. Andrade Cien Almas and Sin Cara set the pace very nicely. Unfortunately, the other competitors could not follow. But they set the pace very nicely. Good match for what it was. Andrade Cien Almas wins with the double knees and the hammerlock DDT, and he gets his very first major pay-per-view victory. Good on Almas, and the right man won there. Same thing with the next pre-show match. It was a tables match between the New Day and Sanity. This match was chaotic, and it was all over the place. We had some innovative spots. We had a double tope con hero. Killian Dane took flight. There was a spot where Big E and Xavier had Alexander Wolf and Eric Young in a powerbomb position, and Kofi Kingston jumped off the top rope and did a double stomp to both Alexander Wolf and Eric Young, and then Big E and Xavier Woods powerbombed them. So it was a double stomp powerbomb combination. Great spot there. In the end, Sanity wins when Alexander Wolf kind of held Kofi Kingston over the table, and Eric Young did an elbow drop through the table. Sanity gets their first major pay-per-view win in WWE. Good on Sanity. Hopefully the momentum continues. The show started off with the B-Team versus the Leaders of Worlds, and I get why they put that match on first is because they really just wanted to get the matches that really no one cared about. Well, they didn't care about the majority of the matches, but they really wanted to get the matches that really no one cared about at all out of the way first. Let me start off by saying that this match was not bad at all. It was not bad at all. I did not have a problem with the match. I had a problem with the winners and the way that they booked the winners. There was a report that came out not too long ago that the Leaders of Worlds were supposed to be facing the Authors of Pain at SummerSlam for the Raw Tag Team titles. If this was a last-minute decision, this was poorly made. Now, I really personally don't have a problem with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas because I want better for them. I want them to succeed. Because Bo Dallas has been pretty much buried ever since he came up to the main roster, and Curtis Axel has been treated so poorly ever since he lost the Intercontinental Championship that people have seen him as an afterthought. So yes, I want better for them, but be honest. The B team over the Deleters of Worlds, when you're comparing them to go up against the Authors of Pain, the Authors of Pain, come on. It's not a good decision whatsoever. If I was to be booking this, then I think that Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt are going to win the titles back tonight on Raw. And or possibly, if they don't, then I can see the B team versus the Deleters of Worlds versus AOP at SummerSlam in a triple threat tag team match, and that's when the Authors of Pain are going to win. Because the B team aren't going to be taken seriously against the Authors of Pain. It was fine against the Deleters of Worlds because the B team actually looked decent in the match. The match wasn't bad, but the wrong team won. No one is going to take the B team seriously against the Authors of Pain. Bad decision number one. Baron Corbin versus Finn Balor. Again, the match wasn't bad itself. But the WWE did not book these guys in anything meaningful leading up to Extreme Rules. You got Baron Corbin looking like Corporate Kane 2.0, wrestling in a suit. And Finn Balor, who's been treated poorly ever since he came back from injury. Why is anyone going to care about Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin, even if the matchup was decent? Which it was. It was not bad. But no one cared because of the terrible creative writing and booking that they did for this match leading up to the pay-per-view. Finn Balor got a win over Baron Corbin. I'm happy that Finn Balor got a win, but then again, the booking made everyone just not care. And you know something? The fact that Finn Balor only has one pay-per-view win in 2018 just far, that's just sad. And it's against Baron Corbin over a feud that was used as filler. Match wasn't bad, but you cannot tell me that that match was overall positive because they did not book that match to a point where people are going to care about it. No one cared about it, no matter how decent it was. Finn Balor got a win. I'm happy for Finn Balor, but seriously. This is when things started to really tread downhill. And I was headed towards concussion territory. I was this close to getting a concussion and an aneurysm at the same time. Asuka versus Carmella. Ellsworth was suspended in a shark cage. Ellsworth found his way free, but got one of his pant legs caught in the rungs, and he was hanging upside down to a point where they had to lower the cage. And Asuka was booked like a retard when she was booked to hit and kick and punch and strike Ellsworth to the point where Carmella was free to recover. Carmella did no damage to Asuka. All she did was pull Asuka by the hair. The majority of the matchup was spent by Asuka hitting and smacking and kicking Carmella, and then hitting and smacking and kicking James Ellsworth. If you're telling me that Carmella doing no damage to Asuka, and then just pushing Asuka face first into the side of the cage and beating Asuka is the best that you have for Asuka, Asuka has been buried, and I don't care. How are you going to have a girl like Carmella, who can't cut a decent promo for her life, who can't wrestle, who has done absolutely nothing for the championship, who has no value, and gets go-away heel heat everywhere she goes? How are you going to pick her over women like Becky Lynch and Charlotte and Asuka, of all people? You're going to have Asuka lose to Carmella twice, and then Asuka beats the hell out of James Ellsworth after the match. Is this the end of this feud? I don't know. I don't know if that's the end of the feud. I hope some way, shape, or form before SummerSlam or at SummerSlam, Carmella loses the title, because I cannot stand her with the title. If you support... Hang on. I'm going to lose my voice. If you support Carmella as a champion for her in-ring ability and her cringy and annoying promos, you need serious medical help. You need serious medical help because your X and Y chromosome are not connected correctly. You are out of your mind if you think that Carmella is worthy of that championship. I always said that the worst match of the decade was Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal last month at Money in the Bank. I think Carmella and Asuka may have outdid Roman and Jinder. The two worst matches of the last decade, number 2 with Roman and Jinder, and number 1, Asuka and Carmella for the SmackDown Women's title at Extreme Rules. I don't even know what they're going to do with Asuka anymore. Poor treatment. Absolutely poor treatment of Asuka. She was better off on Raw than she is on SmackDown. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And if you support this, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem if you support that. Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship. I was a little disappointed that they did not give us the classic that we thought they were going to give us, but I understand why they did it. They did it because Jeff Hardy's had a pinched nerve and a lot of nagging injuries stemming from Backlash, and they needed to give Jeff Hardy a break. Plus, Jeff has been hurting his tailbone on the Swanton, so Nakamura won within 10 seconds. Nakamura looked like a beast because he just jobbed out Jeff Hardy. Nakamura is the new United States champion. That title looks good on Nakamura. I'm just going to say that. But it's well overdue for Nakamura. Well overdue that he gets a title run because of everything that he's been put through and everything that he has done. He has done everything in his power to prove that he deserves to be in the main event, and they just didn't pull the trigger on him because they are that stubborn. After the match, Randy Orton returned as a heel and stomped on Jeff Hardy's nuts. Randy Orton is coming back as a heel. I like it, but I don't know where it goes from here. I don't think he's going to be going for the United States Championship because then you'd have heel versus heel. And that really isn't too much of a fun dynamic unless you're Sanity and the Authors of Pain. Because that match last year at TakeOver was fantastic. Jeff Hardy's getting his rematch tomorrow night on SmackDown Live. We're going to see how that goes. But I hope Nakamura has a good lengthy reign with the title. I would like to see Nakamura lose the title to Almas, possibly in October. Because I want him to hold that title for a good amount of time. Because Nakamura is well overdue for a lengthy title run. You have AJ Styles and Nakamura as your two main champions on SmackDown Live. Good on WWE for giving Nakamura the championship because he's deserved it for a while. I'm not really going to complain too much about that. Owens and Strowman inside of a steel cage. Now, this was really about Kevin Owens trying to survive. We had a lot of fast-paced action in this matchup. This actually played to the smarts rather than the strength of Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens took handcuffs and he handcuffed Braun Strowman to the rope. And he said, "Suck it," and then he blew a kiss, waving goodbye to Strowman. And Strowman just ripped the cuffs in half, right off of the rope. And then, in probably what was the spot of the night, Strowman and Owens were on the top of the cage, standing on top of the cage, and Strowman had a chokehold on Owens, and Owens was like, no. And Strowman tossed Owens off the cage through the table. So this match was really nothing more than a build-up to a spot that would echo what Mick Foley did against The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell at King of the Ring 1998. That was all the match was. It was a build-up for that one spot to echo Mick Foley's death-defying fall from Hell in a Cell. Props to Owens. Owens has got balls. Owens has got balls for taking that spot. I really got to give Owens a lot of respect for that one. Braun Strowman basically gave Owens the win, but I did not like the fact that he just gave Owens the win and he just took the loss as if he didn't care. I get that's part of his character because Braun Strowman just doesn't care. He cares about causing pain and destruction, but still. I'm just saying. Owens won. It was a build-up to a Mick Foley Hell in a Cell-like spot. That was that. The SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. This was decent. It wasn't bad. None of these matches were, like, horrible, except for Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax, and then Carmella and Asuka. The problem is that they booked themselves to a point where no one really cared about the match itself. I mean, the match was actually decent, and Daniel Bryan, Harper, and Rowan mainly did all the work. You had Daniel Bryan trying to fight off the Bludgeon Brothers because earlier in the night, they, per storyline, broke Kane's ankle. And then Kane came out with a boot wrapped around his left leg. He delivered a couple choke slams, and that was pretty much that. That was it for Kane. Kane was taken out of the equation, and I had the Bludgeon Brothers winning. I did not know that they were going over clean. If this storyline is playing into the fact that Kane is going to run for mayor and Team Hell No is no more, then I'm all for it, because Kane needs to go. He needs to go run for mayor. I did not have the Bludgeon Brothers going over clean because I thought that The Miz was going to interfere in order to cost Team Hell No and start up the program between The Miz and Daniel Bryan for SummerSlam this year. That did not happen, and the Bludgeon Brothers won clean. I don't know where the Bludgeon Brothers are going to go, and I don't know where Daniel Bryan is going to go. I think he's going towards The Miz at SummerSlam, but I don't know how they're going to start up the build if they didn't even do anything at Extreme Rules with The Miz. Miz wasn't on the show at all. We're going to have to see how that plays out. Bludgeon Brothers retain. Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley. Okay, so here's the deal. What I'm going to say, firstly, out of the gate, the match was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was not great. It was not good. It was not great. It was not good, because in the first 10 minutes of this match, it was nothing but rest holds and punches and clotheslines, and Roman Reigns just tossing Bobby Lashley around. That was pretty much the majority of the match. There's a reason why they were chanting "We the People" and "Rusev Day" at the beginning moments of this match. It's because the match was slow-paced, it was boring, it was anticlimactic, it was very, very, very lackluster in the beginning. The last 4 minutes of the match really made the entire match. We had Bobby Lashley doing a belly-to-belly to Roman Reigns over the announce table. We had a Superman punch with Bobby Lashley up top. Those were two good spots in the match, but it was not good enough to make the match a must-see match. It was a completely missable match. It was much better than 95% of what Roman Reigns has been doing. It was decent because of the last 4 minutes. It was not good. It was not great. Decent for what it was. But ultimately, in the end, it is a down because WWE is trying to paint Roman Reigns as a victim, as an underdog, and it's not working. Bobby Lashley won, and I swear this was the biggest ovation that the universe has given Bobby Lashley since he returned the night after WrestleMania. This was the biggest ovation. So no, Roman Reigns is not making other superstars look good. The other superstars are making themselves look good because everyone legitimately hates Roman Reigns that much that all they want to see is Roman get his ass kicked. That's how bad the go-away heel heat for Roman is. All they want to see is Roman Reigns get his ass kicked by anyone who's in the ring with him, and ultimately, the person that is facing Roman Reigns automatically becomes the biggest babyface of the night. If Roman Reigns is not cheered over a boring, lackluster, uncharismatic, valueless Bobby Lashley of all people, there is no hope for Roman Reigns as a babyface, and he needs a heel turn right now. People want to say that Roman Reigns is forced down our throats. Yes, he still is. After everything that he's done in the last 4 years, or everything that he's been booked to do in the last 4 years, you can't say shit. And especially if this happens. Bobby Lashley won. If Roman Reigns is involved in the Universal title picture in any way, shape, or form at SummerSlam, no one can ever give me or any other fans shit about complaining about Roman Reigns. Because Roman Reigns, he is being put in these types of matches to manipulate the weak-minded and pretty much dumbfounded fans to think that Roman isn't forced down our throats. But in reality, Vince McMahon is carefully placing the pieces of the puzzle together so that way he will ultimately get Roman Reigns in the main event when the majority of the people don't really want him in the main event. So, if Roman Reigns is involved in the Universal title picture in any way, shape, or form because he hasn't done anything this year to prove that he deserves another shot at the Universal Championship, no one can ever give me or any fan like me shit about complaining about Roman Reigns. End of story, period. Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax. This only went 7 minutes. As a matter of fact, this went 7 minutes. There were 12 matches on the show. 9 out of 12 of those matches, almost 80% of the matches on the show were under 10 minutes. Why are you going to book some of these matches with some of the most talented people that you have? Now, I'm not saying Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax are talented whatsoever, because they haven't shown anything in their previous matches. But if you're going to book Daniel Bryan and the Bludgeon Brothers in an 8-minute match, or Balor and Corbin, though no one cares about them, then how are you going to expect that this pay-per-view is going to get a thumbs up if these guys aren't given the proper amount of time? I mean, Christ. Sanity versus The New Day got more time on the pre-show than Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax did. This match was not even Extreme Rules at all. It didn't even live up to the caliber of Extreme Rules. This was only a few trash can shots, a few kendo stick shots, a few chair shots, and Mickie James attacking Natalya, who came out to help Nia Jax, and then Ronda Rousey came out to help Natalya and Nia Jax against Alexa Bliss and Mickie James, and in the end, Alexa Bliss still retained the championship with help from Mickie James. So, not only were shenanigans pulled in the main event, but they were pulled in this match as well. Alexa Bliss wins. Very lackluster match. Did not even live up to the caliber of Extreme Rules. You want an Extreme Rules match? Go watch Adam Cole versus Aleister Black from NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. That's Extreme Rules. AJ Styles versus Rusev for the WWE Championship. This was the best match of the night, bar none. This was the best match of the night, no question, no doubt about it, but it did not main event. How are you going to have all those shenanigans being pulled in the main event with that Intercontinental Championship Iron Man match, no matter if it's a gimmick match or not? And how are you going to have a great match with Styles and Rusev for the WWE Championship, the very first title that this company has ever incarnated, the very first title that this company has ever made? That title's been around since day one, and it's co-main eventing over a shenanigan-filled Iron Man match. The best match of the night did not even main event. And you don't have a problem with that? Styles and Rusev put on a fantastic match, and that match proved that Rusev is damn sure worthy of a WWE Championship reign, and he is a main event player. Aiden English didn't even get involved. He didn't lay a hand on Styles. All he did was push the ropes closer when Rusev was in the calf crusher and take the top turnbuckle off. He didn't get involved at all. AJ Styles drop kicked him when English didn't even lay a finger on him. Styles wins with the phenomenal forearm. Great match. Should have main evented because it's the WWE Championship and it was the best match of the night. And surprise, surprise, it featured AJ Styles. You know, here's a piece of information. AJ Styles, for the last 2 pay-per-views, Money in the Bank and Extreme Rules, has been involved in the best match of the night, yet they did not main event. They did not main event, even though they were the best matches of the night. There is something wrong with that. And if you can't see that, then you should not be watching wrestling at all. AJ Styles and Rusev, one of the positives of Extreme Rules. Great match, should have main evented. Now we got the main event with Ziggler and Rollins. Everyone was expecting a 5-star classic out of these two. But how are you going to have a 5-star classic when you have a fall every 2 minutes that pretty much takes away the competitive nature of an Iron Man match, takes away the resilience of both competitors, and on top of all that, for 3 minutes out of the 30, Drew McIntyre interfered. Seth Rollins was up 3-0. Drew McIntyre interfered and beat the hell out of Seth Rollins for about 3 minutes so Ziggler could get 3 falls in a row. We were tied at 3-3 by the time we hit 17 minutes. Tied at 3-3 by the time we hit 17 minutes, and honestly, I do not even blame the fans for counting down. Why? Because if you're going to present a pay-per-view that's called Extreme Rules, when nothing is even extreme, barely anything's even extreme, number one. Number two, you're going to pull shenanigans like an interference from McIntyre for 3 minutes. And the fact that you're going to place all of these matches in the wrong order, and you're going to give people terrible matches with lackluster builds. I don't blame the fans whatsoever. They were having fun because that match was boring and dead in the water by the time we hit 15:30, because it was nothing but rest holds and they were chanting and counting down with the time clock. I don't even blame the fans. If you're going to book a match, an Iron Man match with two of the best wrestlers in the world, Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, like that, then it should not main event. And you should expect even much worse. Ziggler and Rollins, they went to a 4-4 tie. Kurt Angle came out and said it will go into overtime. McIntyre comes out again. He comes out again. Rollins gets distracted. Ziggler hits the zigzag and wins. How do you expect anyone to take Ziggler seriously if he's got McIntyre backing him up for a good chunk of that Iron Man match, and the fact that it was rest holds midway through and they did absolutely nothing but have a fall every 2 minutes? If this was the case, McIntyre should have lost to Rollins. McIntyre should not have been anywhere near ringside. The second worst pay-per-view of the year by far. And that's all I got to say about Extreme Rules. But ladies and gentlemen, go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @VDJStorms. Do not forget to check out the Lightning Flash update if you missed it last week. The Lightning Flash update this week as well. Go follow Wrestling Express on Facebook at Wrestling Express, the group, not the fan page. Go follow Wrestling Express on Twitter at W Express Nation. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Rewind for Extreme Rules. Thank you, and I will see you on Friday.